to another episode of Coder Conversations. Tonight we have AI engineer at Google, Gautam. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you on the show, man. Just to get things started, can you give us a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Google?
Oh, that's a. Uh, I'll go with the long answer if that's okay, or should I go with the shorter answer?
Long is fine. We got plenty of time.
Okay. I was born in India, and I grew up there, and I went to college there. I studied computer science, and I actually did my internship, which is called Google Summer of Code at Google. And then after graduating college, I started working in Japan, and I worked there for 10 years. And then when I was working for Japanese companies, I realized that my work style doesn't match with the Japanese companies. So I wanted to move to a more Western or American companies back. So like Google, interning at Google was a great experience. I thought I'd wanna join it back again, but it was on the back of my mind. I never actively tried. But while I was in Japan, like a recruiter from Google reached out to me, and I I was excited and I joined Google back. I skipped a lot of details here, like about my jobs in Japan and how did I get those, and a lot of other details. But yeah, this is like the very short and succinct answer, I guess. And
Sure.
then yeah, after Japan, I moved to US after working Google in Japan. So right now I'm working in Google headquarters.
Can you tell us a little bit about the differences between the Japanese and Western culture? Like, what made you want to switch over?
Okay, yeah, that's a very uh, interesting and a long could be a very long conversation. But basically, Japanese companies work in a more hierarchical manner, and they have this concept of age-based promotion. So, like, unlike Western companies, which are more about skills and performance-based evaluation, and then you get promoted based on your performance. It's in Japanese company, it's more about how long you have been with the company that you get promoted. That's one. Another is like in Western company, it's very capitalistic way of looking at things. The more profit you bring in, the more you're valued in the company. And but in Japanese company, it's not just about like your output at work or like how much value you're bringing in terms of capital, but it's also about um, like they really care about certain things, like the way you dress, the time you show up on. Like I think also American companies do care about these things, but not to the extent that Japanese companies do. So, for example, if you're showing up on time and you're wearing suit, like which is kind of like required in a lot of Japanese company, and you leave after your boss, you're considered good. Like they cannot give you bad evaluation. They don't give you a bad evaluation as long as you're doing like the bare minimum and like staying in the office and like pretending to work, if you did not create even any output. But from what my experience has been with the Western companies, like they don't care so much about like um, whether you're in the office on time and you're wearing a suit or whatever the dress code that they might have. It's more about like what did you do and what value did you bring in, and did you actually do the work. So if you're goofing off in the office, they might fire you. Um, and this is like brings me to the third difference, in which like Japanese companies, they are very stable. So like the job you almost a Japanese company almost never do layoffs. So if you're hired with a company, they would never like lay you off based on bad economy and like the company's not doing well. What they might do is this is in very extreme and rare cases, is they might like subside you and put you on a project that is like, or put you in a place that you don't want to go, like they relocate you to an office that you don't want to go, or they put you on a project that you don't want to do or no one wants to do. So they might try those things in order to get rid of you, get you to quit, but they will never like fire you. because in Japan, like a company would be considered taken as like a very negative. It would create a very negative image of the company if they fired the employee. So no one would want to work for them. So that's another big difference between Western and
Wow.
Japanese company.
That's pretty interesting. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I've actually heard something similar, like Nintendo when they had layoffs, or they didn't have layoffs, but when the profits were declining, the CEO decided to take a pay cut, so they didn't have to lay off employees. Like
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think there's a more sense of camaraderie in Japan. Like I think don't want to make this political, but like in America, like companies are very, very capitalistic, and the country is very capitalistic compared to Japan, which is more socialistic. So like the mindset is more like we are in this together kind of feeling is much stronger in Japan. So like if the economy is not doing well or the company is not doing well, everyone takes a hit, not just like few low performers, but like everyone in the company would take a hit.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you actually prefer the West, or now that you've experienced the two, did your mind change a little bit?
Um, I feel there are pros and cons. Like I would not say everything is great in either of those things. I do think like American companies are like I've seen like videos of CEOs where they're sending like like they're having their lunch and they're firing people, and like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna fire like about 1,000 employees because you guys didn't perform well, um, and with no emotion whatsoever and no sympathy. Um, um, but I've seen like Japanese companies are other extreme where they don't fire you, but that's great. But they also like do not promote you. They do not value your hard work. Like if it's you just even if you're like really killing at your job, they still would not give you the promotion. They'll promote the guy who's been the team the longest or is more like the oldest member of the team. So I don't think I would say like either of the extremes are good, but I would say that there are things that we can learn from either of those cultures or either of those work environments. And um, in American culture, I would say that as a young person without a family and without a huge responsibility, maybe it's better because then you can work your ass off and get promoted. um, but I think like as you get later in your life, like when you're older, you have kids, you want more stability. Maybe Japanese companies are better because then you do not want to be suddenly wake up and now you have two kids and you're jobless. Like so, maybe I would prefer more Japanese environment when I'm older. That's how I would see.
Yeah, I mean, I had an experience with Japanese musicians in LA some years ago. I was playing. They were a Japanese jazz fusion group, and they brought me in on drums, and they were really intense. We would have, and I've never had this before. We would have 3 hour rehearsals with a 5 minute break in the middle of it. So they were going hard all the time, always practicing, always just very meticulous, like nitpicking, like they wanted everything to be exact. So I think, yeah, there's definitely huge differences in cultures because other bands I played with, American bands, is way more laid back. Okay, you get there 10 minutes late, no problem. Okay, you just want to do an hour, no problem. Like, 3 hour rehearsals are kind of unheard of.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
oh, go
Um,
ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I
Um,
was just saying, yeah, I'm just half Asian, so I know it's like really rigorous, really structured, but
Yeah, I also agree with like how much they put attention to detail. Like you said, like they were very picky about their stuff, and I also noticed that when I was in Japan, like something like, as you said, like in Western society, it's much more laid back. In Japan, like, yeah, they really go into like this 3 hour. If you say you'll work, then you need to be there for those 3 hours, and you would like really go into like very much detail. So like there is a culture of attention to detail in Japan that's much stronger than I would say in US. So far, at least that has been my experience as well, aligned with yours.
Oh, absolutely. And these Japanese musicians, I found it really interesting. I never knew this about YouTube. You could slow a YouTube video down by like 1/4 or 1/3 or 50%. You could slow a video way down. So what they would do is the songs that they wanted to learn, the cover songs of these jazz fusion tracks, they would slow them down on YouTube to learn them. And I was like, oh, I never knew you could do that on YouTube. They're like, yeah, that's how we learn everything.
Yeah. I can imagine them doing that. Yeah.
So yeah, man. What made you want to get into computer science? Is that something you was always interested in? Were you really into electronics as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid, it's kind of fun story that I was always into computers, but I never actually thought that I will study computer science. When I was a kid, I wanted to work for NASA, and I was really into science in general. And I wanted to be an astronaut, or like most kids, like I dreamt big. So I was really into like science and space, but somewhere around high school, or like before high school, like junior high school, is when I would play a lot of games, and I really got into games back then. And my friends and I would discuss about games a lot. And then I came to figure out that you can actually write your own game. It's not that hard. And when I was in like 12 or 13-year old, that's when I started realize that you can write your own games. And I started learning Java back then. And I started building like very, very simple games. And that's how I got started in programming. But when I was writing those games, I also started researching a little bit about like security, and like there's a back then like Die Hard was like a big movie, and this Die Hard 4 came out, and it was about hacking the systems. They call it firewall or something. And I saw that movie, and I was like, wow, you can actually hack these things. So I started reading about like security exploits and all that. So I got into security. So from gaming, as I would hack into my friend's computer for fun, and my friends would also like, they were also like kind of like nerd like me, so we would discuss games and try to hack into each other's computer. So so this was in high school, and so I thought I could go for computer science, but my dad is like an architect, so I thought I could also go for architecture because my dad is an architect. So after that, I thought I got into college, and I had a choice between computer science and architecture. My dad told me that, hey, you really love computers, and computers are the future, so you should go for computer science. So it was kind of like a big influence from my dad that I chose computer science, because I was thinking I could go for architecture. And when I did join college, initially I joined architecture, but then I moved to computer science. And since then I've been working on computer science.
Yeah, the architecture route does seem pretty interesting. What about computer science really made you choose that route over architecture?
Yeah, so this was more like a discussion with my dad. He said like architecture is a great field, and my dad is an architect, so he knew the ins and out of society. He said like architecture has been there forever and will stay forever, but computer science is this new thing, new kid in the town, that's everyone's talking about, and it's gonna change the world. Even architecture. He was aware of tools called CAD. I don't know if they are popular anymore, uh, but there are tools that you use to even design architecture. And he's saying those tools are made by computer science people. So you could eventually find your way into architecture from computer science. And once I joined computer science, I guess I got really into unlike most computer science students who are into math, and that's how they get into computer science. I never I didn't hate math. I like math, but like math wasn't the reason why I joined computer science. It was the feeling that I can build things that are in my head and make them real. So I remember when I was in college, a thing like Raspberry Pi was like really popular. So you could put attach Raspberry Pi to any of your tool of your liking and code it to do things. So I remember I coded to automate like my air condition or like my coffee maker. So every time I would wake up and my coffee is ready because it would brew sharp at seven or eight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like those kind of things, like automating things has always been my passion. Like still, I feel like something that's like repetitive work, it really frustrates me. Like I'm really bad at doing a job, the same thing over and over again. I like the novelty experience. Like I like doing new things all the time. And the computer science kind of gives me that power where I'm always working on something new and exciting. So that is what I think made me stick to computer science. Uh, and then as I was working a lot on this hardware software interface with Raspberry Pi, I thought I want to work in robotics because robotics was like the cool thing that everyone wants to work on. And still, I feel like robotics is such a super cool top subject and field to work on. So I wanted to work in robotics. And once I got into robotics, I thought like I want to automate and make this robot do everything they can. Um, but when I got into it, it turned out there's a lot of hardware engineering that is required. There's obviously software engineering that's required, but that software engineering is either operating system level or artificial intelligence, that AI is needed for the things that I thought that I want robots to do. So I got into AI from there. So like that's how the journey has been, from like security to robotics to AI, I guess.
So you've kind of just fallen into these different roles.
Yeah, like I think I'm very I like to not put myself in a box where, okay, this is what I do. As long as I have like something that I like and I want to learn, or I want to do. I think in this generation, fortunately, we have like all the resources we need to learn new things, especially in the field of computer science. I feel um, it's very easy to pick up a new technology or a new framework, or like change fields within computer science. It's much easier than, let's say, in a mechanical engineering, someone wants to move away from, if they're working on engines, to tires. Like I don't really know much about mechanical engineering, but like it's much harder switch. I feel in computer science is much easier because all the resources are already there. It's just everything can be done on a computer, so you don't need to buy a new hardware. You don't need to physically change your location. So I feel I just navigated through this based on my passion at the moment. So that's how, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So you kind of mentioned games got you into programming. Did any games or movies like really inspire your vision of what the future could be?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel uh, like this may be a bit of a topic of philosophy, but like Matrix is definitely a movie that I thought, and I still think that the future is headed towards. Another one that I felt when I was playing games, a recent game that I felt like was really good was Near Automata. And but back when I was in high school, the games that kind of inspired me were like Grand Theft Auto and like the old one, Grand Theft Auto 3 or Vice City, or um, those games were the major one. Like even like a simple game, like I remember there's like Angry Birds, I think, was starting to get popular back then. And that was also like such a simple game, but it was so addictive that I would play it a lot. and I remember like there was this game called like Snake on like old, not even smartphones. That were I would
Oh
play a lot
yeah,
on.
yeah, the snake game where you're like a yellow or a green snake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was written on QBasic, right?
Yeah. That was on a Nokia phone. I think Nokia was the one that spread it out. So yeah, even those kind of like very simple games and like would be like very addictive. I would spend hours playing those games. So I was like, I want to build something cool like this game, and that's how like I got into it. But and still, I feel like these days I'm too busy. I would love to play more games. These days I watch like YouTube videos of people playing games, but uh, but yeah, I feel gaming is definitely a thing that
Yeah,
will
so like
still exist a big. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, you got a first hand up close view of AI. Do you see like AI transforming gaming?
Do I see what?
Do you see AI really transforming gaming? Like, for example, making NPCs a lot more interactive and dynamic, or dynamically generating worlds? Because right now a lot of the stuff is static. Like you play a game and it's the same level over and over. But with AI, you can dynamically generate scenarios or character personalities.
Oh, 100%. I think the use cases that you're talking about is very end user focused, and I absolutely agree. Like NPCs would be very um, like much more interactive going forward because of language models and because of recent like project innovations in AI. But not just that, I think like the gaming, creating new worlds is obviously gonna be a big part of this. But for example, when I was working in gaming, in a gaming company, I was working for Square Enix, the company that created Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest. So I cannot I cannot give a lot of details about the project, but like the big picture of the project that I was working on was we are trying to build AI to remove bugs from the game. So like in massive like RPGs, uh, a lot of the time and money goes on debugging what you're building, like the game, because the world is huge and it's very hard to find bugs and fix them. So I was building a system that would automatically find bugs and report it to developers and testers. So I was using reinforcement learning for this. And I feel like even not just creating new world, but like the game velocity in which you build a game and debugging of game and like the game engines and physics engine and like those kind of things are gonna be way better thanks to AI, because I think a lot of the repetitive work there could be taken away by AI, and like debugging issues and like other things could be automated, so developer velocity would increase multiple fold. Especially like there's like talks about there are already tools out there that code for you, right? But I think like in gaming, uh, if when you're writing a piece of code to test it out end to end, like AI can help a lot in those kind of like tasks. And that is another thing where I feel like gaming will have a huge boost because of AI.
That's interesting. What is your main focus in terms of AI right now?
So I've always been into reinforcement learning. So right now, I'm working on Gemini. So anything I say is not like, just want to mention this, does not represent Google. I'm not talking on behalf of Google or Gemini. So please do not quote me on that. I'm just saying my personal thinking, and as an engineer, that's about it. So Right now, my work is I'm working on Gemini. So Gemini is like Gemini is multimodal, but it's like the whole large language models revolution is happening, and my work is making sure Gemini is able to not just talk things, but is also able to interact with the real world, so able to take actions. So taking action in the real world involves like being able to call APIs and being able to like interact with things outside of just code. So like being able to execute code and call those APIs in a safer environment. So I'm working on those kind of things, and it involves a lot of like uh, cleaning the whole pipeline in terms of like the API gets hallucinated and or it's not safe enough, or it's creating things that could be potentially dangerous from like moral humanity perspective, like it's spitting out security or like private personal information. So making sure those things do not happen, and like more precisely, like RLHF is like reinforcement learning with human feedback. It's something that I've got into recently, and that's what I've been working on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Can you tell us a little bit? You don't have to go into detail and don't speak on anything you can't, but like, how do you limit an AI? How do you prevent it from going off the rails and, like you mentioned, being a danger to humanity?
I feel like AI is just like any other system. What you put in is what gets out. So internet is full of a lot of I would say things that are not good for humanity, and a lot of like I would say, for example, racism, sexism. A lot of it has all the like the things that we don't want to be spread out in humans, and that's like the where I feel like it's not about using AI that's dangerous. It's about what we put into AI. That's kind of like has to be very, very well thought out and cleaned. So uh, to create a safe AI, I would say like it's more about we need to be when we are creating the data sets that the AI will be trained on, we need to make sure those data set aligns with our vision of the world and the future that we want to see, rather than just feeding in whatever we can and let the AI decide, because then it will have create a bias towards the negative things that we do not want. So that's where I feel like we need to be careful with as one thing when we are building the AI. Once you build an AI, I think the second important rule would come in, and that would be like when we're using the AI, we need to make sure it's used um, for use cases that are good for humanity and handed out to people that have good intention. Like for example, as I live in San Francisco, self-driving car is not even special anymore, like a car that can drive itself. But when you put that technology along with, let's say, like something potentially dangerous, like a face recognition system that drives to some location, find a face, and then I don't know, does potential harm to that person. This could be done completely by AI, right? In theory, at least. But we need to make sure like people are not using it for those use cases. So I always consider uh, whenever the talk of safety and AI comes together, I always give an example of a knife. So knife is something that humans could use to potentially hurt other people, but it could also be potentially used for a lot of other things like cooking, and that's necessary for survival, and a lot of our DIY stuff. So I feel like AI is something similar where it could be potentially dangerous if people want to use it that way, but it could also be where humans can really go much, much ahead of where we are right now if we use it with uh, with the right mindset and for positive reasons.
Now, what do you think about certain countries sort of, pumping the brakes on AI development? Do you think any country is going to kind of be out in the lead, like China or North Korea or Russia? What do you think that looks like? Not to get too political, but just in terms of, AI development, what do you think that looks like from country to country?
Yeah, I think putting brakes on AI is not a good idea, because complete brakes on AI is definitely not a good idea, because it's a technology that that we are still at the beginning of our exploration. I feel like the models have become increasingly larger, but the larger the model gets, the more it's capable of doing, and the processing power we give it, the more it's capable of doing, and we don't know where this will end. So we're just at the beginning. Is a lot of speculation is. So I feel like these countries or people that have this mindset, let's put a brake on AI. I think I agree that we need to be careful and we need to be very thoughtful about the use cases, uh, and and we need to have some level of ownership and checking that we are using it the right way and for the right reasons. But if you put it to complete halt, it's basically like saying we don't want humanity to progress on this amazing thing that could really help us unlock things that humans may not even be capable of achieving. So, like, for example, like AlphaFold, which was a model that DeepMind launched, and it won Nobel Prize for that problem. It was a 50-year-old problem that humans have not been able to solve, but with AI, we were able to solve a problem like protein structure problem that humans were not able to solve for 50 years and may not be able to solve. But with AI, we were able to solve. So, like, right now we are seeing use cases about AI automating the task humans can do and reducing the time. But pretty soon, my guess is that we will be able to do tasks with AI that humans are not capable of doing in the first place. And putting a stop to that would mean putting a stop to like all that innovation and all that potential that humans could have reached. So I feel like the countries needs to have more um, like stricter, I would not say super strict policy, but like a little bit stricter policy on and checking on like making sure these AI are used for positive use cases. But that's about it. That's, I would say, would be enough for us to make sure we are heading in the right direction.
Absolutely. So like how do you envision AI really transforming the future, and how much more powerful is it going to get? I know that quantum computing is starting to come into play, so that should give it a lot more processing power, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, no, I would not say there's no right or wrong. I think it's more about like a lot of these questions are no one knows. Like, first of all, like I feel like AI is such a broad field. There's no one person who knows AI, right? Like who knows everything that is going on in AI world, because every day a new research paper comes out, and that's like like revolutionary that everything you know about AI you did not know. So, um, so I feel like AI is like such a broad field. What I would say, like the future of and the potential of AI is more or less depends on the researchers and the research community that is pushing it. So I feel like the brightest brain of this generation, a lot, not all, but like a lot of brightest brain of this generation are working in AI. In the field of AI right now, and that's why we are seeing all this innovation and uh, this revolution that's going on. The reason why I feel like AI has a lot more potential that it will be able to achieve is because the computation is getting incrementally better, and what we thought like the neural networks, they like it was like actually it was a pretty old research that I think it was in the 80s or 90s is when people were doing neural networks and they stopped doing those and they start picking back again on like 2016 or 2012 again. So I feel like this is a pretty old research, so it's not a new thing as we might think, but and we don't know how far this will go. But as long as we give like the best brains that humans have, and best people in the world are working on it, not just like in terms of their brain power or intellect, but also in terms of like their moral compass, and we make sure this will obviously happen. Like the hardware, NVIDIA launched a new a GPU. Google is working on their all their own GPUs. So I think as the hardware will get cheaper and easily available and more powerful, this train will keep on going. So I don't see it ending. Like a lot of people speculate this to be a bubble and ending like in a year or two. I think sure language models are like this buzz about the current new chat GPT or things like that might end in a year or two, but like the AI as a whole, like for all its sense for like reinforcement supervised and supervised learning, like everything that it has to offer, will keep on going, and it will be like a field that could be like it could potentially be I don't know if I 100% would say this, but it could potentially be as revolutionary as industrial revolution or agricultural revolution, um, where a lot of the way humanity lived and survived drastically changed. So with AI revolution, it could be possible that a lot of the tasks that we live in our day-to-day lives right now would be completely different once the AI has reached its full potential. So
an AI revolution, what do you think that would actually look like, in day-to-day life?
yeah, that's a really good question. I think a lot of so it will begin with automating the things that we do on computers and the things that we can um, do without interacting with the physical world, like virtual world. So, for example, just this podcast, right? Like you guys are interviewing me, which is great. But I think pretty soon AI could create podcasts like this and interview people, actually humans, or AI can interview another AI, and we could learn. Like people listening to this podcast, um, they uh, they might learn about computer science and AI and a little bit about me, I guess. But like AI could talk to another AI, and that AI could have all the background that needed for um, artificial intelligence or reinforcement learning, and could act like a really smart AI researcher, and they could have a very similar discussion, and humans can listen to it. So I feel like a lot of these virtual world things could be. I'm not sure if they will be, but they could be automated with AI. So as you guys said, like creating virtual worlds in gaming, uh, creating podcast, taking actions like calling your Uber. There's like a concierge service, which like right now we would have to go and order food on Uber Eats, and we would have to call our cab, and we would have to look for a YouTube video that we're looking for, or like when you're looking for to go shopping, you look for the shop, like the shopping mall. If they have something available, you look for restaurants that you want to eat. Let's say tacos. You look for places. All these things, making an appointment in, making a reservation in that restaurant. All these things like will start getting automated with AI. Like these are kind of low hanging fruit, I feel. But as I think this will also start expanding eventually to physical world, where people like there's this meme that I saw, like I want AI to do my laundry and cleaning, and I do poetry and art, whereas AI is doing poetry and art while I'm doing cleaning and laundry. So I think that the reason why that is because doing poetry and art, virtual art, is a software problem, not a hardware problem. So like doing laundry and doing cleaning of the house, it will eventually be taken with AI, but I think that might take longer time. So like I see it as like a transition from software world eventually to physical world, and I don't know like how far will this go. Like I'm not like self-driving car is already out there, so like that's a physical world problem that AI have solved. So I feel like the future would be a lot more like the repetitive work that we have been doing, or would be taken away with AI for sure, and people might have to find new ways to spend their time rather than on the job that they're doing right now.
Right. So, I mean, me and Kevin have talked a lot about this on previous episodes about AI taking jobs. In the tech industry, I think it makes sense that AI would probably take over a lot of the junior level roles because it can create code with something like, I think it's called Copilot. And,
Yes.
yeah, it could create code. Then you kind of have the senior developer look it over and see if there's any bugs, anything wrong with it. But I feel like we're moving into a direction where AI will start to replace some of these positions, especially more like entry level roles. What do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel there's a time in computer science when people considered them like the computer science just copy pasting code from Stack Overflow. Um, and I think that's the kind of task that AI will start taking over. Like you would not need a junior engineer just copy pasting code from Stack Overflow with minor changes. AI can do that for you. So I think it will really be about being good in your field. Same goes with art, like UI or art. Like AI is a lot of people talk about like artists or musicians are gonna be. You're telling me that you're a musician, so a lot of people wonder if I can create music, the musicians are gonna be out of job. I don't think that's gonna happen because uh, novelty experience is very hard to create, and I think the music that we listen to might change in the way that the songs that are like some people are creating cookie cutter songs and the same beat and like little bit alternation on the lyrics, and now they have a new song. Sure, those songs are gonna go away, but if you are creating something really nice and new and different, that AI will still be incapable of doing. So, like junior programmer jobs or junior artist jobs or like musicians that are just mixing or like doing very basic things, those things will start be I feel like taking away with AI. But to create something very complicated and new, I think that will be a long road ahead for AI to take over. It's not going to happen anytime soon if it eventually does happen.
Right. So you're saying, like, let's say an AI is trying to compose music, a film score, music for a movie. That would be a tough task right now. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, absolutely. You were talking about bands, and you were saying that you were the drummer in that band. So
Yeah, I do
yeah,
drums and hand percussion.
yeah, absolutely. So well, if a band does not have drummer and they need drummer, they might be able to use AI to put drums into the when they're creating songs, use AI to do the drums part. Of course, it would not be as good as like a drummer of Lamb of God or a drummer of Metallica, but I would say like it would be able to do like a beginner level drummer performance. So like AI will help not like creating a completely new song like for the rock band, but it will help like give them a drummer when they don't have one, and if they're just starting out in their career as a band.
Sort of like your own personal Ringo Starr from the Beatles.
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I'm seeing like these chatbots become more and more advanced. People are really being drawn into that. Do you see highly advanced chatbots as a potential societal risk? Like they're so smart, they know the person they're interacting with so much that they can possibly
Um, I think there's this researcher, Yang Kun, and he talks a lot about this. And I kind of agree with what he says, so I'll probably be aligning with him. I feel like chatbots, like AI in general, does not intend to manipulate people. Like that is not it's trained for. That's not what it achieves. It's the human who manipulates another human. Like AI is not getting anything out of manipulating human. But I do see like chatbots becoming. They're already very interactive. So if you check out like Gemini Live or GPT-4o, it's like almost talking. Or there's a new project that recently got launched, Project Astra. Um, AI is already very interactive in terms of talking to humans. And what I'm worried about is that AI will not try to manipulate humans, but AI might hallucinate. And as AI hallucinate, humans might believe whatever AI is saying and just trust it and then take actions and then realize that it was not a wise choice. Um, the reason why I say that is because in my day-to-day life, I see a lot of my friends, they just Google something, and whatever shows on top of Google like result, they believe it. Um, so as you and I both know, like anyone can write a website and write anything they want on that website, um, and if someone Googles it and they find that on their website and they believe that, it's kind of like, oh, you just wrote something that you think, and other people start believing that because it's on the internet now. So same thing might happen with AI. Like people might ask questions to AI, and then they might believe whatever the answer AI has given, and then AI might not be correct. AI might be hallucinating. AI might not have the clean data, and it might be saying things that are not aligned with human values. This could be because of I'm not. I don't think any human, one human or few group of humans sitting there purposely creating this sort of AI, but it could be like a human error where we missed out on that specific topic or that specific question on cleaning the data. But this one user or few users that have asked this question to AI, they might get incorrect or hallucinated or not an answer that's not aligned with human values and start believing that. I don't blame. I would say like we need to educate people on not trusting AI blindly and not trusting these systems blindly, and that's why you see a lot of these chatbots have disclaimer written on the bottom saying, "Do not believe anything that AI is writing. We are not taking responsibility of that." And I think that
Yeah,
should be
that's
there.
smart. That's smart.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like that's needed because humans are very trusting. I feel like we trust systems almost instantaneously once it works. Um, and that's not good because AI is like not perfect. So it might not manipulate, but it might misunderstand, and it might give you incorrect answers that human might end up believing and thinking that it manipulated us. But no, it did not manipulate you. Just a bad system that doesn't work as good as that you thought it did.
Right. Now, what about, can you speak to it all what they call AGI, artificial general intelligence, or sentience in these robots?
Oh yeah, I feel like AGI. This might sound a bit of a downer, but I feel like how do you define AGI? Like it depends on every person. Um, Everyone has different. There's no one definition. I guess like AI is able to do every task that human is able to do. That would be an AGI. If if we go with like the traditional definition. I don't think that is gonna happen anytime soon. What might happen is like we might be able to use AI as like a assistant to do help with a lot of chores, but I don't think it's gonna be like AJ is gonna come and it's gonna be sentient and it's gonna have consciousness, and it's gonna be like in the Avengers where this sentient being comes out and now it can walk around and can fly around. I don't think that's how.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how AI is gonna look like. Another thing is like a lot of humans assume AI to be a humanoid. And I think humanoid is like Elon Musk's company. I'm not sure if it was X or Tesla, which one it is that has created this humanoid robot. Um, Actually, if you think about it, like humans do not have the best shape to perform a lot of the tasks that we need to do, like our body structure. For example, if you want to lift a very heavy thing, our hands are not really like the best grip. So you would want like something like a forklift machine or uh, something else to uh, lift heavy things. Or I feel like the sentient being that people are talking about, it will not be like this one humanoid that's replacing humans now. And there's this game also, Saving Detroit, I think it's called, that is also um, talks about a society where AI humanoids and humans are living together and finding peace together. Um, that's not how I see it. I see it as like more like a virtual thing that calls the APIs that are created by developers. So right now, a lot of software engineering goes into uh, creating software for another developer, right? Like so, we would create API endpoints, and then another developer would read the API documentation and call those APIs or those functions. What might happen is like we might, instead of writing it for a human, we might eventually start writing it for an AI, where we know that this API will be called by an AI, or uh, along eventually more and more AI. Right now, less AI. So eventually, we might have the systems that we are developing might be more aligned with AI. So this is a more like a human-computer interaction issue. But like those kind of things will eventually start happening. But I don't see it like becoming this omnipresent god-like AI that has taken over the world and is now controlling humanity and manipulating it, and like and it's running the governments. I don't see it like that. Um, so that's just how I see AGI to be. AGI would be like a mix of multiple APIs getting called by AI working together. So that's how I would see AGI as.
Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting perspective.
So y'all recently
Yeah.
read a story that around 25% of Google's new code is generated by AI. Is like AI really generating that much code, and what is the quality level of the code?
Okay, I don't know where that figure came from, but like a lot of the code is even before this AI revolution, a lot of the code is just a cookie cutter code. So like spaghetti code. So um, we are when you're developing, like let's say a website, like most of the website looks similar, right? So you don't really need to write everything from the sketch. What humans are doing is just copy pasting an existing website's template and pasting it and creating your web page. So, and also a lot of the code that is generated is compiled code. So like when you would write a configuration, and then you would ask you would run another like a script on top of that to like expand that code and kind of make it more like a specific design or configuration that you want it to be. And this is already being done by systems that are manually run. So a developer would be like, okay, I'm at this stage, this configuration, and I want to be another configuration from A to B. For this, I need to write this script or run this script to go to configuration B. what is happening is that now AI is running these configurations for developers. So it's not that AI is generating it. AI is just running the script for you. But it sounds like now AI generated all this code. Like, who takes the credit? It depends on who you give the credit for do this generated code. So yeah, I don't think like that eventually all the code would be written by AI. I think it's more about like when developers are writing these, running these, a lot of the software engineering work is very repetitive in nature, that we are building the same thing that has been built by someone else. It's like a lot of reinventing the wheel kind of things. So I think those things are taken away by AI, and I'm kind of happy about that, to be honest, because as I said, like I don't like doing repetitive work. So developers can focus on more innovative new challenges than solving the same problem that has been solved by other developers. So that's where AI is writing that code. Yeah.
Right. And probably at first, the very wealthy, the very rich will have these humanoid robots in their house doing chores, doing laundry, cleaning floors, cooking dinners. And I think then eventually, we'll get like the Costco version of that, where you have a humanoid that, maybe it doesn't do as much as that first one does, but it still does a lot. It can still cook you dinner. It can still take your trash out. How far away is that? Realistically, how far away are we from that kind of life?
Like a maid that is a machine, right? So like you have a personal maid, chef, or however you wanna.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
I think the biggest problem in building something like this is interaction between software and hardware. So the world around us is not designed to be interacted with computers. Like when you are cleaning your room, uh, it's a very hard problem because everything around us that you touch is designed for humans and human hands and human interaction. It's not designed for machines. So like if we do create a humanoid, then the problem becomes very different, where how can a humanoid mimic human behavior? So for example, a very simple problem would be when you ask AI to like, let's go to the kitchen, fill a glass of with water and bring it back. Now, to do this, AI would have to navigate to the kitchen, find your cupboard, find your glasses, hold it, not break it, put in enough power so that it's not breaking it, it's not holding it too loose so that it drops it, like the right balance, grips it the right way, takes the water, lifts it, and then hold that as well in the proper angle, drops the water into the glass, and and then puts the tap of wherever the water was, the jug, back, and brings the glass back to you and hand it over to you. So it needs, like, this problem has a lot of small problems that needs to be solved. And right now we don't have an AI that can hold a, or like go to your kitchen, look at it, find a glass, hold it, and bring it, like just hold it properly, not without breaking it, or like being too loose or being too hard on the
Right.
glass. So
Right.
we
I mean,
there yet.
there's
Yeah.
a company
Yeah.
called it's a company called Figure AI. Have you heard of them?
No, I haven't actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they do robotics and AI and stuff like that. And there's a video I saw on LinkedIn. They posted there's the humanoid and then a human, and there's a table in front of them, and there's I think oranges and then bags of chips. So the human says to the robot, "Hand me something healthy," and it picks up the orange and hands it to the robot. And I thought, wow, that's pretty advanced already. If we already have that kind of technology, how far away are we from, having a maid robot that can do all of our chores?
Yeah, I think like I'm not like these videos, to give you a little bit like background, a lot of these videos are kind of staged for marketing gimmick and to get the virality that they want. So for example, Boston Robotics also has videos like this, where they are kind of like, there's a machine or robot that they are like asking to open the door, and they're beating the robot with like a stick, and it stands up and things like that. And now it's like playing basketball or something with humans. But a lot of those are kind of like, I would say, a little bit staged or programmed, hard coded to do that specific thing for that specific video. It's not generalizing yet. Like, it could pick between a bag of chips and orange, and they might have like programmed it to pick an orange just to show that it can eventually do that. But right now they just staged it for that video. So I would say, I'm not sure that this is what they did. This is just like, I'm guessing that some part of it might have been staged, and it may not be as natural as they might have shown it in the video.
So it may not be as advanced as it is presenting.
Exactly. And because of this whole buzz about AI, and companies need to stand out, and they are kind of like fighting tooth and nails to like stand out. So they are creating videos that kind of like have a wow factor to them and a kick to them. If the video did not do that, maybe you would not be mentioning that. If it would have shown a robot that doesn't work, is hardly able to pick up an orange and drops it, and like it's all not natural, we might not be talking about this. So I feel like a lot of it is like a cloud of created, which is not real, like a smoke without the fire. So I would take it with a bit of skepticism. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So yeah, we're at the top of the hour. Did you want to leave our audience with any closing thoughts?
I would say like AI is like just for now, it's not something as big as a lot of people are making it out to be, but it has potential to be as big as people are making it out to be. We don't know if we'll ever reach that potential. So like, I would just say like, everything you hear is not what it is like, or everything you see in a YouTube video is not what it really is. So just keep that an open, keep it with look at it with an open mind, and keep enjoying AI. And if you're a developer, Godspeed to you. Thank you for contributing in this field.
Oh, absolutely, man. We definitely appreciate you coming on to the show, and we'll have to have you back sometime.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun talking about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think only last question I wanted to leave was, what tips do you have to the junior, to the entry level developer who wants to focus on AI? What would you recommend they do?
I think a lot of people, when they get into AI, they get scared of math, and they get scared of going deep, and they start just calling the APIs. There's a lot of like tools that you can use, like that will do most of your work. You're just doing like calling an API, and that does everything for you. I would say like, if you're a junior developer, or like you're starting out or you're learning, go deep, like read the theory. How does actually the algorithm, the first like backpropagation algorithm work? What is the math behind it? Why does this work? Like, go into details. And once you understand those details, then you can go and jump into API and all that. Because I feel like a lot of people jump into like surface level and are not digging deep, and they kind of like give up without going into deep. So like, I would say go deep and enjoy doing that, because that's, once you understand those deeper concept, you're able to do a lot more and understand new things and new APIs or new systems as they come out much more quickly. So
yeah, I can
that would be
imagine
my
that.
best. Yeah.
Well, yeah, man, it was awesome discussing AI with you, and we definitely look forward to you coming back. And we'd like to also thank everybody for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Thanks, guys.